Good evening, and I would like to call our City Council meeting for June 29th, 2019 to order. At this time, again, for our moment of silence, you know, I had the opportunity to be on a conference call with mayors again up and down the Mississippi River, and, you know, there were 30 breaches along the river, or overfills or breaches along the river, and at one point, the Mississippi River in Louisiana is 7 miles wide. And one mayor from Grafton, Illinois, unsolicitedly, which was great, said he wanted to thank Davenport for our parkland. He think the water we had in the parkland may have saved his community. We know we have work to do, and you'll hear more about the task force over the next few days and into next week, but it is really important. We have to see, we can't be divisive. We've got to see how we all come together, not only as a community, but as a larger community, because truly, we're all in this together. So with that, please, a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Alderman McGinnis, would you lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. Brian, would you please call the roll?
Ambrose.
Here.
Condon.
Here.
Rawson.
Here.
Dickman.
Here.
Tompkins.
Here.
Grip.
Here.
McGinnis.
Here.
Kluhl.
Present.
Matson.
Here.
And Dunn.
Here.
10 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, Brian. And again, a good evening. And as we begin this meeting of our City Council, I would again like to welcome all of those in attendance and those who are viewing the meeting on television or on the internet. We respectfully welcome your comments and opinions, and please keep in mind that as you talk to the council, you are also sharing your thoughts with fellow Davenporters and with viewers throughout the region by way of our TV broadcast. We are happy that you are participating in your city government and ask that your participation reflect the common desire we all share to make Davenport an even greater place for all of our citizens. For the children, adults, seniors, and families in our community, those in attendance, and those watching at home, I thank you for joining us. At this time, we ask you to turn off or silence your cell phones and other electronic handheld devices as they can interfere with the audio system here in the chambers. If you wish to address the City Council on a specific item on the discussion agenda, you are encouraged to do so during that discussion item. You will have an opportunity to address the City Council under Public with Business portion of the meeting, which will occur towards the end. And when addressing the Council, I ask that you step to the podium, wait to be recognized by myself, and speak to the Council as a body and not to any single member. We will ask that you limit your remarks to no more than 5 minutes, and I ask that everyone observe, and I know you all will, the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. So again, thank you, and we're glad to have you here. Will an alderman move the approval of the City Council meetings for June 12th? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Those are approved. Is there a city administrator update this evening?
Just a reminder that next week's Committee of the Whole will occur on Tuesday, July 2nd, so that we can all participate in Red, White, and Boom. And there will be no management or City Council update meeting prior to that.
Thank you very much. And again, as a bit of interest, we'll be celebrating Red, White, and Boom on next Wednesday, so thank you for that as well. Also, as we move forward, will an alderman move approval of the report of the Committee of the Whole for June 19th, 2019? That's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. That motion is approved. That report is approved. We have 7 appointments this evening and 1 proclamation and 1 presentation, actually. First of all, appointments under Park and Recreation Advisory Board. The 3rd Ward, a new appointment, Yolanda Estes. 4th Ward, Steve Duffy, is a reappointment. 5th Ward, Adriana McBride, is a new appointment. 8th Ward, Michael Schertz, is a new appointment. Under Historic Preservation Commission, John Free is a reappointment. Diane Franken is a reappointment. And the Housing Commission, Joyce Miller, is a new appointment which is filling a vacancy. Is there a motion to approve those appointments? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. thank you very much, and thank for all those individuals for their service. We're delighted that they are committed their time and effort for this work. Next, we have our proclamation this evening, and I'm going to read that and make that presentation myself this evening. Whereas the cities of Rock Island and Davenport have been cooperative neighbors since the founding of each community in 1835 and 1836, respectively, and whereas there exists a long history of collaboration dating back to the 1850s, when the two communities were connected by the first railroad bridge across the Mississippi River. And whereas Red, White, and Boom is celebrating its 15th anniversary of cooperation between these communities, and whereas River Vision is a cooperative plan for the development of the riverfront between the two cities, and whereas the execution of said plan has brought continuous improvement and enhanced the quality of life along both riverfronts, and whereas we honor the birth of our nation, those who gave all for our country, and those who serve today to protect our shores, and whereas Arsenal Island and the military commands located there have been a significant part of the history of both communities, and whereas our communities commemorate the Rock Island Arsenal and the Arsenal's importance to our region and nation and world. Now, therefore, we, Frank Klipsch, Mayor of the City of Davenport, Iowa, along with the City of Rock Island, congratulate the cities of Davenport and Rock Island for their improvements to the riverfront, but also to the Rock Island Arsenal on all of its past achievements and innovations, and look forward to cooperating future success, and do hereby proclaim July 3rd, 2019, Red, White, and Boom Military and Arsenal Appreciation Day, dated this 26th day of June, 2019. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, and I think Mr. Crokin is going to come up and accept that today. Thank you for your continued help in making the Red, White, Boom happen. So congratulations and thank you, and let's turn around and get a quick photo.
Yes, thank you. Mayor and Council, I am Ken Crokin, 8th Ward, ably represented by Mr. Kluel. And indeed, Red, White, and Boom will happen on July 3rd, and it will be as spectacular as ever, but it will be somewhat different. We have worked for many years to create a multiple barge event where we have fireworks going off in mirror image. Sadly, this year we cannot do that because of the limited availability of barges. As you all know, the barge traffic has been slowed, and literally billions of dollars of products are waiting to go down the river. But we turned to our friends at Arsenal Island to ask for their help, and they have agreed to allow us to fire our display off of the western edge of the island. So while the visual effect of previous years will be different, this year the shells will be larger, the explosives will be higher, and it will be equally spectacular, just a bit different. And I wanted you to understand that difference. I want to thank the City of Davenport for its continued financial support on behalf of the Red, White, and Boom Committee. I also want to congratulate the Downtown Davenport Partnership for their leadership, particularly Jason Gilliland, who is here with us tonight. And now comes time for my annual warning about the use of fireworks. We put this Red, White, and Boom event on. It is the largest by-state, by-city display in the Midwest. It will be spectacular, and we encourage people to come and celebrate together with us safely. You can do that in any of 3 locations: Schwiebert Park, Modern Woodman Park, or this year, it'll be very easy to go to Arsenal Island. A simple ID is all that's required. So The Consumer Product Safety Commission reports that last year at least 5 Americans died in using fireworks at home. 10,000 people went to the emergency rooms. Fireworks are inherently dangerous and ought to be only handled by professionals. So I urge my my neighbors in Davenport and throughout Scott County and the Quad Cities, please come and enjoy our nation's birthday safely at one of those 3 locations. And again, I thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you. I have one presentation this evening, and tonight I want to recognize another unique business of Davenport, Iowa. This business not only provides a service, but is a business that is a service and a blessing to their family and our community. Joe's Barbershop is a true representation of what the foundation of our community is all about. Joe McLemore graduated from Barber College in 1968. Soon after graduation, he opened his first barbershop at 718 Harrison Street. Then he opened a shop, followed on 1531 Harrison Street. His current barbershop opened in 1992 and is located at 1505 Harrison Street. He has operated a successful barbershop for 51 years in Davenport. Joe was born in Rock Island, Illinois. He was one of 20 children. Growing up poor made him crave for a better life for himself and his family, and he started working at the age of 14 as a dishwasher at the Black Hawk and then Bishop's cafeteria. Joe was blessed by meeting and marrying his wife Shirley, and now for 55 years they have been strong partners. Shirley worked for 19 years at Case, 17 years for the water company, and the last 13 years have been spent at the Children's Village Child Development Center. In addition, Shirley has been a tireless community volunteer for Junior Achievement, the United Way, Susan G. Coleman Breast Cancer Research, and she has been recognized as both Mrs. Quad Cities and Mrs. Iowa. I've known Shirley a long time, and I've seen much of that service that she's been able to provide. Together, Joe and Shirley have one son and one daughter. Both are Navy veterans. Their daughter is a contract negotiator for the United States government, and their son is a finance manager for Toyota. Joe and Shirley have 2 grandsons. One grandson graduated from Iowa State with a master's degree in kinesiology, and their other grandson graduated from the University of Central Florida with a degree in digital media and is currently a software engineer at Lockheed Martin. Joe and Shirley McLemore knew what needed to be done and did it. Joe said that if you want to be successful, this is what you need to do. Always be on time, do the best job possible, and always be responsible. Joe and Shirley shared with me that regardless of your background, if you get up, do what is needed, pay your dues, success is achievable and within reach for everyone. I want to thanks to you, Joe and Shirley McLemore, for your 55 years successful partnership, and to Joe's Barbershop for more than 51 years of dedicated service. Thank you for your devotion to providing the City of Davenport with excellent service and your continued contribution to the economic development. Your ongoing community engagement and open communication helps to improve the quality of life in Davenport, Iowa. Please come on up and let me make the presentation. First, congratulations to both of you. I got to get something else too. We have this kind of remembrance of all the things I just said, but also, excuse me, oops, let me get this out of here too, Joe. And it reads, local business, the foundation of our community, recognizing the unique businesses of Davenport, Iowa, Joe's Barbershop, June 2019. And again, it's part of the foundation. That's what this brick is all about, and you've served that for us. So why don't you two of you come over and why don't you hold that, Shirley, and you can hold that one up if you would, Joe. And then we'll get a picture. Thank you. You want to say anything?
Thank you very much, and it's the community we grew up in, and we just tried to do our best.
You're precious to us all.
You said it all, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, our next item, and again, congratulations and thank you to the McLemores. We have our petitions and communication from council members and the mayor, and we're going to have our chair of the community engagement lead off. Alderman McGinnis, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're celebrating our country's founding next week and patriotism. So here's something that kind of ties to people working toward to make our country better. Now through August 31st, you can enjoy Rock Island Rosies, women workers of the Arsenal at the Rock Island Arsenal Museum at 3500 North Avenue, right there on the island. The exhibit explores the experiences of women workers at Rock Island Arsenal. You can learn about the first women workers there, the effect the war had on defining the jobs that they held, and how the workforce looks today. So I hope you'll check that out now through through August 31st. July 4th really does bring summer here, so put on your calendar for your kids July 10th. It's celebrating the summer at Youth Fest. It's Wednesday, July 10th at the February Learning Center. Fun begins at 8:30 a.m., continues until 2 p.m. There are over 30 vendors. There's a petting zoo, music, food, interactive displays, and hands-on games. It's a free yearly celebration sponsored by Davenport Parks and Rec and the Davenport Community Schools. And then finally, we will be partying in the park again tomorrow night, this Thursday at 5:30 at Van Buren Park at 205 South Elmwood. Please come and meet city staff from all departments, enjoy free food, entertainment, and kids' activities. You can learn about the history of the neighborhood and the park, and you can get to know the folks living around it today. Everybody in Davenport's invited to these events, so we hope you can show up and join us for one of them. And tomorrow night it's at Van Buren Park starting at 5:30. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis, and again, I want to thank you. You're doing a great job in this role, so thank you very much. Our next is Alderman Grip.
Thank you, Your Honor. Speaking of unique Davenport businesses, yesterday Greatest Grains announced that after 40 years they're going to be closing their doors. Clyde and Julie have decided that it is time for retirement. It's really hard to accurately and adequately state how important Greatest Grains has been to the Hilltop, but also how great of community members the Mayfields have been over the years. They epitomize what it means to be small business owners. They're a great family. They run a great business, and most importantly, they are great community members. So I got to know the Mayfields when I had the honor of coaching one of their sons, Max, at Central High School, an incredible kid at the time, now an incredible young man, living up to the Mayfield name. And I just wanted to thank them for their years of commitment to our community, and then wish them a long and prosperous retirement. Well deserved.
Thank you, Alderman Grip, and I think all of us would join in those sentiments as well. So thank you for announcing that as well. And sadly, with them retiring, but good luck to them, and I know they'll enjoy their family. Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple things to remind you. This weekend, Pride Fest down by Mary's, and then the air show this weekend out Mount Joe Airport. Two great events, bringing a lot of people here, enjoying our downtown and our northern part of the city. So just remind, there's two good things to go to. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Honor. I got some good news. July 9th, at the Fairmont Library, I'll be hosting a Fourth Ward meeting, and everybody's invited. And I want to thank our city attorney, Tom Warner. You know, we had 3 neighborhoods dogs that attacked postal carriers, and the post office discontinued the service, and hundreds of people were forced to go down to the post office and pick up their mail. And Tom worked hard to set up a meeting with the postmaster, and I'd like to have Tom give us a little history of what happened and where we're at with the post office.
Well, a summary on that would be that 2 of the 3 are good news stories on the way toward being good news stories. One of them, the animal was vicious. It was put down, and the post office returned service to that neighborhood. On another one, the dog is still in custody of the Humane Society, and it's facing an appeal, not this week but next week. But it looks like that situation will probably also be a determination of vicious, but you never know. You have to see the evidence. On the third one, there's an appeal on that as well. We talked to the post office, and unfortunately in that neighborhood they are looking at going to a central box unit on that. So anyone who's impacted by that should probably try to get a hold of the postmaster and talk to the postmaster. That's the Linwood area on that, Alderman Ambrose.
Thanks, Tom. And I know that has had a tremendous hardship on a lot of the elderly and the special needs people in the neighborhood. And yeah, I understand where the postmaster comes from, wanting to protect his carriers, but I didn't realize that was such a big issue in the city of Davenport, how many mail carriers have been bit by dogs. So as we listen to our discussion with the Humane Society, and they operate animal control, and the significant issues that have to be dealt with by animal control, and the impact vicious dogs have on neighborhoods and on the mail carriers, we got to have an animal control group that really does a great job. And it seems like the last few months and maybe even a couple of years, things have gotten a little soft, and we're dealing right now with the Humane Society of Scott County's board. So I want to encourage Brandon to, as he negotiates, to remember the impact vicious dogs have on neighborhoods. And a dog that is vicious can terrorize a neighborhood, and that's not right. As we get into this discussion, I hope we take a look at our dog ordinance and how to address these situations much quicker than we have in the past. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. And what time is your ward meeting, by the way?
6 o'clock, set your watch.
Great, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Alderman Kluel.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Grip brought up his thanks for Greatest Grains, and there's not much I can really add to that. Clyde and Julie have done a lot of things for our community, and the interesting story about Clyde taking that over from the A&P years ago and doing what he did there. But the thing that I wanted to mention is ironic that we had Joe's Barbershop honored tonight too, because I see a similarity in terms of what those two businesses have done for the Quad Cities. I don't know about you, but I found those places to be gathering points where people talk. People talk about issues, they resolve issues, and sometimes they don't resolve them, but they start issues that need to be talked about. I know that there are a lot of us who've gone to, I've spent a lot of time at Greatest Grains. Something about those places just leads one to want to talk about things of importance. I don't know what it is. And my hope is that there will be new places. I don't know how long, Joe, you're going to stay in business, but I hope it's for a good long time. But I hope that these businesses emulate other businesses to provide that same space for us to come together and talk. It's so important to our community. Beyond the economics, there's a real social benefit to what both Joe's and Greatest Grains have done for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Kluel. Alderman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor, for giving me another go. I would ask, I know that Brandon, I don't believe he's here this evening, but there's been discussion, there have been things on Facebook, there's been some coverage of what's happening with the Humane Society or with the contract. Would someone from staff kind of just give us because there's new information, I think it's important that people hear it.
So I did execute the 30-day extension with the Humane Society earlier this week. So we will have coverage through July 31st. We also did hear back from the board after their meeting Monday night about their counter proposal. So we were at best and final, and that led us on the path we were, and they came back with a revision. So we're working through those deal terms right now. I think from a financial standpoint, it's a pretty fair offer. But through this conversation, both at a staff level and with all of you, we need to treat this contract, if it is the one we bring forward to you, similar to ones we've recently done with Quad Cities First or others, where we're actively managing performance and outcomes. And I think that's been something that's been missing in the past. So that's what we're working on right now.
Thank you, Ms. Spiegel. And anything else? Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. Alderman Mattson.
Thank you for a second time, Your Honor. So I'll go on with Alderman Ambrose and Alderman McGinnis. Since we're talking about it, I asked Brandon in the contract to please put, and thank you, Ms. Spiegel, for saying that, benchmarks on responses and covering. I've seen a lot over the time, and when this was being discussed, it's like, okay, go get someone else, because, in my opinion, the response time and the reaction to the neighbors' concerns is almost absent or slow at best. So if we don't have something solid in their evaluation of how they respond to people's needs with dangerous animals, then it's not worth anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. Seeing no other comments by my colleagues, we're going to move on to individual approval items on the discussion agenda. Our first item is a first consideration of ordinance for case number REZ 19-06, being the request of Jasveer Sani to rezone 0.56 acres, more or less, of property located at 4607 North Pine Street from a C1 neighborhood commercial zoning district to a C2 corridor commercial zoning district. Again, I just want to note, which many of you know, the Plan and Zone Commission recommends denial of the request, so 8 votes are required to overturn that, to approve that, the original item of rezoning. Are there any public with comments tonight on this item?
My name is Dot Richards. I live at 2805 West 47th Street, which is just right around the corner and down the dead-end road from this gas station. I really hope that you will go with your Planning and Zoning Committee's motion to deny this, because right now we've only had like 2 weeks that they've been working with us, and I'm not, granted they have tried to do some things, they've cleaned up some things, but I'm still finding liquor bottles. I found 3 of them on our road when I'm walking my dog the other day. So I know that the people are in there, they're bringing it back, and there's too many things that I feel that should be done before they turn this into a super station. They showed us a picture of their plans for the new building, and it's like, I'm not an engineer, but there's some things that I have a lot of questions on, so I ask that you all take a good look at what their plans are, and please do not vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Bromwell. I live 2418 West 47th Street, and I just want public record to show that I disapprove of this being changed. Traffic's bad up there. The liquor bottles are all over. They have cleaned it up. It does look a lot nicer, but they should have been doing that all along instead of waiting until it come down to crunch time. So I just hope that you guys vote, in favor of the neighborhood.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else?
My name is James Carr, and I live at 4626 Kelling Street, real close proximity to the convenience store. I just asked the council to vote to deny this request. I think that the Planning and Zoning Commission has shown that it's an inappropriate place to do this development. It was unanimously voted to deny it by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm hoping that the council will vote to deny it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Robert Ortez, 4607 Pine Street. First, before I get into my prepared a few little remarks, I just want to say, as some of the council members and neighbors have noted, the last couple weeks, we have really tried to, we've actually walked the neighborhood and picked up trash. And I got to tell you, for every person, and God forbid if there are, but we've walked it for over 2 weeks now, and we've been lucky to find a few of these liquor bottles. There must be 88 million of these small liquor bottles in Northwest Davenport. Where they're coming from is beyond us, because when we're picking up trash and we're walking that whole neighborhood, we're lucky to find 1 or 2 of them, and that's the honest to God truth. So why everybody here might be walking and finding them, it's just amazing to me, and I'm speaking just for myself, because we're out there walking and actually picking up the trash, that there cannot be this many liquor bottles in Northwest Davenport. I'm sorry. So that's one point. My first point is, and why I think this zoning fits for our property, is we will not change our hours of operation as a condition. Second point, we will not increase any square footage for liquor sales, shelving, whatsoever as a condition. Third, we feel this new building, and I think this is even more important than the first two, we feel that this new building will not increase traffic, but we feel it will help improve the flow of traffic, improve lighting, and eliminate the standing behind a building. And let me just expand a little bit on that. This property isn't going to be a blighted property that has zero traffic or very minimal use. A number of you aldermen come to our station. A lot of city staff come to our station regularly every day. We're known for having pretty much the cheapest gas in town. So to change this to a new building, will a new building cause an uproar of traffic? Actually, we think it'll do the opposite. Well, our business, we feel, is stable. We get who we get each and every day. We don't have big influxes of, sales up or down. I feel that changing a zoning in an area that is C1 to C2, that there's not that normal steady flow of traffic, and then all of a sudden making it C2 to where you put in, some people said motels or supermarkets or something. Yeah, that's going from a very small amount of traffic to all of a sudden increasing the area by a flood. That's not going to happen here. This new building will not increase our sales or traffic. We actually think it'll open it up, because being able to allow us for what we're really here for, to add the new pumps. Anybody that has come to our station knows that our store is so close to the gas pumps that people that park in front of the store and people that get gas, it gets a little congested and a little bit tight, and we always fear for safety of everybody, so we want to, put the building to the back, increase lighting, eliminate any chance or any opportunity of people standing back behind their loitering, which we've been trying to really focus on and take care of. And, number four is we have a proven track record. We're not a new business owner or new people coming into here asking for something new. We've been 10, 12 years. We have licenses, and basically, I don't know if we're not in any ward, and if any alderman ever has a concern, it's addressed instantly. That's over 10-year, a decade-long, period. So there's no outstanding, well, we don't know these people, we don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to react to the neighborhood. We're committed to that neighborhood. We're going to be there for a long time. We're making financial investments in that neighborhood that's going to improve that neighborhood, especially with the new street that's going to be going in there, which I, fought with Ms. Tompkins can attest to, is asked her, stayed up on it, can we get this street fixed, And just one last point that, like I said last week, and I think it just gets lost in this, is while one neighbor concern is too much, I hope Alderman Mattson can speak to the far bigger outcry in the neighborhood until we came into the neighborhood and what we've been able to do over that time. Because believe me, before we're there, you want to talk about trash, you want to talk about liquor bottles. I'll make one point. When we first opened the business, the Hawkeye Tap owner came to us and said, we have a major small liquor bottle, because people are buying, they're playing volleyball, they're coming into their store, they're bringing them in their purse, and they're only buying pop. That's where the problem's coming from, and we worked with them for the longest time. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll answer any questions at a later date if so needed.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else with any comments? Just to be clarified now, so I just want, first of all, Alderman, any Alderman with comments, excuse me. It's been moved, and we can still have the time for consideration. Is there a second? To move? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions by Alderman? Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I've had a long history with this place, and I think maybe some of you else have. We used to fight hard this corner and tried hard to get something there because it was as messy as any place was, and then those folks came in. I have talked to Robbie and his people many times. I go there every day. Anytime I see something, I usually say something, either going inside, and the people know me there, or to Robbie. He does, at least from my perspective, answer it immediately. I've pushed him hard to find financing or do whatever to improve, continue to improve, and get a better place, because I think it needs a better place. And the condition, and we talk about the traffic. So I've pushed him to improve that with the conditions, as he just said, so I'm happy that he said it. You cannot go 24 hours. You cannot sell more liquor. You cannot do, and at least the piece of paper I have in front of me and you saying it public here, and then I request that we put these conditions on that, on the agreement or motion or whatever, and if I need to make a motion to put those on, I'm so happy to do that. That can't change. But improving the building, improving the space, but not in taking the liquor, not 24 hours, I think could be a good thing. And I agree. And so any of us, and I've told him, I'm going to go there more because I know it's not my ward, but I've dealt with it for 16 years since I've been here, because it was vacant and it was terrible. And the stuff that went on there before he went there, we dealt with all the time. Now it's not as bad. Now we have issues, but he does address it, and I have seen the response. So the new building will improve the situation, I think, assuming that we hold him fast. And now I am, in all fairness, Robbie, concerned about enforcing and make sure, and my relationship with you react to stuff immediately. But we got to make sure we hold to those standards that we're putting, and if we don't, then we have to deal with that. And so I've seen what you do. I've asked him to improve it, and I know, again, it's not my ward right now, but it used to be, seriously, and I still go there all the time, and he still reacts. So you got to live up to those standards, and the building has to be to the standard because it needs a new one. So I'm probably going to support it with the agreements of what you just said, and you know the eyes and the improved camera system. You used to have no cameras, then you put it there, so we need an improved one too. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Honor. Along with Mike, good point, Mike. I've had the opportunity to work with this developer ever since I've been on the council. One of his operations was on West Central Park across from Peterson Park, a block from the Heather to the neighborhood. And they've always stepped up the plate when we had neighborhood parties with the police department, the fire department. They always donated the food and the soda, and the kids all had a great time. And during the summer day, I would sit at Peterson Park at times, which was hundreds of kids would be at Peterson Park, playing in the playground, shooting baskets. But the kids, all ages, from being in diapers, would come down and go in and get their candy, get their soda. And the clerks that were working in there were always, like a parent to these kids. So being a good neighbor, I've witnessed it. I've watched them develop a vacant, abandoned property out on West Locust and turned it around, put it back in the tax rolls. And then a couple years ago, I watched what they did down on Division Street. They were willing to spend almost $2 million to develop in a blighted neighborhood, and we had neighbors and people on this city council fighting it, and they opened up a building, but it could have been such an incredible operation and really had an economic impact to a multi-block area. And we talk about that when we do urban revitalization discussions. So, hey, I support it, and I'm excited about it. You know, I would be real disappointed if people on the city council would hold this development back. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. Alderman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm concerned that this is the increase, a denser commercial use of this property in what I don't live in that neighborhood, but I did go up and look at this. This is a neighborhood. There's a reason why zoning is lighter, why the commercial zoning is lighter. It's a lighter kind of commercial zoning next to a neighborhood. I would disagree. I respect Alderman Ambrose, and I understand about reanimating vacant buildings, but quite frankly, people on West in Third Ward over there in Division are not happy with the operation at Division and 7th, and there have been issues for that neighborhood. If you are taking the last 2 weeks dealing with loitering, I say to you, should have been dealing with this before. I'm sure that neighbors have complained. If you were the last 2 weeks picking up trash, you should have been doing this all along. I see no reason to reward by increasing the zoning on this to reward an operation that has been a problem for this neighborhood. Now, I understand that it may have been worse, but I don't understand why we keep forcing our neighborhoods to absorb business that isn't appropriate for the neighborhood. And this is a neighborhood. And it is, living in an urban core neighborhood, and this is not even an urban core neighborhood. It's very much a suburban neighborhood. I certainly understand their concerns, and I certainly cannot support this.
Thank you very much. As a couple more aldermen, I just want to know, Alderman Tompkins, I'll give you a shot here. I know I don't have a button here to see that you're interested, so I'll give you that shot after we're done with the rest of that I've acknowledged. So I'm going to move on to Alderman Grip right now.
Bruce, can I ask you a question? Or Ryan? Okay.
Good evening, Ryan Rushnack with Community Planning.
So I just wanted to confirm with if the rezoning were to go through the plan, would it require, is there still 2 variances that would have to go to ZBA? Is that correct?
The current rendition that's in the council packet would require at least 3 variances.
3 variances.
Setback variance to the property lines to the east and north. As drawn, there was a dumpster enclosure that was oriented towards the street. And they were looking for a reduction of the landscape buffer adjacent to North Pine Street.
Okay. So even if they got the rezoning, they wouldn't be able to meet the specifications to do what they want to do as is and would need to go to ZBA for approval?
With the current rendition.
With the current rendition.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my concern is a little bit different, and it has to do with liquor sales and the city of Davenport's ability to regulate liquor sales, or our inability to regulate liquor sales. We really don't have that many tools in our toolbox to help us with this. We know that liquor stores are bad for neighborhoods, but once they're there, we don't have a way to get rid of them. As it is with C1, as it was planned when we went through the rezoning process, that we were not going to allow liquor sales in C1 neighborhoods, or in C1 zoning, specifically because we wanted to keep liquor stores out of neighborhoods. So as it is right now, the gas station is a grandfather non-conforming use. So as long as this business owner is there, they can continue to sell liquor. But if they were to leave and either nobody sold liquor for 12 months or the building was vacant for 12 months, the next owner would not be able to sell liquor. I think by upzoning this to C2, you're solidifying the fact that the liquor store is going to sit on that corner from now and forever. So that's my big concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Grip. Alderman Rawson.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I had several items. I have taken some time and gone out to this site and sat frequently over the last couple of weeks and just watched the traffic various times of the day, early morning, midday, late at night, just to see kind of who was coming and going, if people were loitering. I also spent some time behind the building because the plans, the property owner has purchased 12 feet of the property behind the building. There's a house there. So if you can imagine, the building is here currently, and there's some gap. This is the house behind, and they've purchased 12 feet of land. So one of the variances that will be required by ZBA, because their drawing shows that the building would be right on the property line. So if you can imagine having a house and then a few feet right outside your porch is the back of a convenience store, that's an interesting concept to me that I'm a bit concerned about, the variance portion of it. The C1, a few side comments before I get to C1. Neighborhood trash. So, the garbage in the neighborhood, this thing about traffic, these things really are not on the agenda. They usually end up getting discussed because this type of agenda item tends to bring up all these things that have kind of been out there that haven't been discussed before. So that's the upside of having something like this on the agenda. You kind of get that conversation started. But those items really aren't on the agenda. And to Alderwoman McGinnis's point, everyone should have been picking up the trash anyway this whole time, not just in the last 2 weeks so that it looks cute. And I've talked to the neighbors, and the neighbors actually also pick up the garbage, so that could be the reason why you're not finding the small liquor bottles. I know I find them in my yard, and my house isn't directly adjacent to a liquor store, but I do have about 6 liquor opportunities within quick walking distance. So they're everywhere. I think increased lighting and decreased loitering can happen now. It could have happened a year ago. I think improvements to the building also could have been done previously and not just wait until we have a new building. I also find, and if I recall correctly, the percentage of, the amount of liquor sales in a building is based on a percentage, square foot percentage. So if you have a bigger building, that by nature would mean a larger area for liquor sales. And if I was a business owner and that was a driver for my business, I would certainly have more liquor sales, because why wouldn't I? And a larger building would inherently potentially draw more traffic. If it's not drawing more traffic, why would I invest the money to build a bigger building if I'm not anticipating more traffic, more sales? So the goal is a larger building, it is more traffic, it is more sales. And that's a great goal for a business owner coming from another business owner. But my concern is, one, the variance piece is right on the property line. So if you go out there and look at it and drive behind the building and look at the distance between this property and the house that sits behind it and add 12 feet, that's where the back of the building will be. The building's literally sitting on top of the 2 porches of this property. And at the neighborhood meeting that I attended, the neighbors asked the owner if they were going to buy this house, the property, and they were told no. So in my mind, that creates an odd situation for the owner of that property, having a house literally sitting on a convenience store. That would be difficult to do something with that property in the future. The other piece that's of concern for me, and one that I did work with staff on in the zoning rewrite, is the C1 status. And the reason behind the C1 status, there's a lot of that on Locust Street in 5th Ward, and the purpose behind that was forward thinking, was looking into the future. And the C1 status specifically in this situation addresses a non-conforming liquor sales on a property that wouldn't normally be there. So as Alderman Grip noted, this property was grandfathered in. The point behind C1 was we were looking at how can we potentially protect future investments in the neighborhood. So C1, since it's non-conforming, if for some reason that business ever went out of business and the land was empty for a year, liquor sales could not be placed back on that property. So that was somewhat of a safeguard we were trying to build into it. Not perfect. The zoning code is not written in stone, as you can see by this discussion. It's just a guideline, it's just a suggestion. But the thought there was to try to control the amount of liquor sales in our residential neighborhoods. So the C1 status, I am concerned about. I've spent time in the neighborhood now, and where this property is located is very awkward triangle in a very residential area, if you've driven by it. And the setback piece with ZBA, I think that's going to be problematic. I don't think the plan is completely thought out. And fundamentally, I wouldn't support it as it stands now. I would like to see a redesign of the entire plan so that it fits within ZBA standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Russ and Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. The petitioner had stated that he wasn't going to sell any more alcohol than he is, or liquor than he is now. Do we have any way to regulate that? And two, what happens if the building is sold and is under new ownership? Does that go with it, or does that revert back to just regular C2 and they can do what they want?
Well, there's really no good way to quantify the volume of sales. There could have been a restriction placed on the display volume of alcohol. So if that was going to be conditioned, I would say you would go with the display volume versus number of sales. There's really no way to restrict that one. And then on your second question, if it's sale is sold, those conditions in the zoning are with the land, so they'll go on to the next owner.
Okay, does that answer your question, Alderman Dunn? Well, let's try one more time around here. Looks like Alderman Madsen.
And Your Honor, I'm willing to let Alderman Clue or whoever else go ahead because I want to make a motion amendments to this. So I'll do that after everybody else speaks, if that's all right.
We'll go to Alderman Clue then.
Thank you, Alderman Mattson. Mr. Warner, then your statement is that the not allowing any more liquor sales or square footage designated for liquor sales would be an enforceable caveat?
Yes, we'd have to go measure exactly what they have for display volume right now and then freeze them at it. But to be honest with you, right, and the practical enforcement is not something that we do. If we get a complaint, we'll go out and check it. But right now we have a restriction of 30% of your display volume. But through the course of this zoning, rezoning discussion, right, it's only done on a complaint basis. And I'm unaware of any complaints thus far other than the one that came up in regards to this one. So it's not a rule or a restriction that really gets proactive attention from staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to some others with second times, I'm going to reach out to Alderman Tompkins. Do you have some comments, Alderman Tompkins?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to share that each time Mr. Warner talked, I don't know if it was his microphone or not, but it kept cutting out. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I apologize if you answer them and I just couldn't hear. So I was going to ask if Mr. Berger could come up or somebody from CPED and answer a question.
Bruce Berger, Community Planning and Economic Development. Ryan Rosneck's here too, Alderman Tompkins.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is, I understand the concerns of going from C1 to C2, and in having some previous conversations, I just wanted to confirm that it's my understanding that we can put some conditions so that if this does go through, that if, let's say, 5 years from now, the business for some reason goes out of business, that something we can regulate as far as what goes in on this property. Is that correct?
In general, yes. That council's at liberty to put conditions on it. I think that generally does relate to uses. So, I suppose looking at council, they could put a condition on that it revert back. Maybe. No, I'm not sure.
To deny the ability to sell alcohol to a future owner,
right.
That is a little, I'm not necessarily comfortable with that position. Yeah.
So it sounds like you could put conditions on Alderman Tompkins, but some sort of a reversion clause you know, is probably more problematic in terms of case law.
I'm confused what we just said there myself. So we're saying is if the C1 or 2 gets done here, and the business is sold, we could put a condition on to do what? We could put it to revert it back to 1, as an example, that still be able to sell liquor. I'm just confused of what we were just asking there.
Point of order. Let the person talk. Yeah.
Yes, it can. I'll let Ryan talk. I was going to say quick, maybe to answer, Mayor, your previous question. Alderman Tompkins and I had talked previously about the idea of placing conditions on, if it were to be Zone C2, and I think this has been done by the council in the past, there are conditions on what uses in C2 are allowed. And so I think the only reason I brought up, I inserted the reversion idea, just was if it was to try to prevent some sort of alcohol sales, and really the only way we do that within our code is C1 versus C2. So, and based on Corporation Council's comments, I think you want to stay away from a C2 reverting to a C1 if some business fails to occupy. So I think forget reversion was mentioned. I don't know if you want.
Alderman Tompkins, you have another question?
I do, but not for Mr. Berger, so thank you.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so the other thing that I just wanted to bring up is that, again, I hear people saying that this has been a problem property. Since I've been here for 6 years, I have had a very positive, again, this is my personal experience, a very positive experience working with Mr. Ortiz. And I have only had one concern, and that was within the past probably 4 to 5 months. And that was in regards to garbage, and then I did reach out to Mr. Ortiz and he addressed it. So when I hear that there's a lot of concerns about this area, I realize that it's on the edge of another ward. So maybe they're contacting the other aldermen, but I have not personally received concerns, feedback until this came up, and I've heard some, but it's been very, just to share about previously, I have not received any, so that surprised me. So second, I do have a question, if Mr. Ortiz can come up, I have a question for him as well, please.
Okay, Alderman Tompkins, he's at the podium.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Mr. Ortiz, thank you.
Hello, thank you.
So my question is, the concerns have been raised, and we have talked previously in regards to the variances, understanding that there's only so much room there. So my question is, what are your thoughts? You had shared possibly making the building smaller, those kinds of things, as you move forward. So can you please share kind of what we've talked about and what your thoughts are, and if that's still an option?
Yes. As during this whole process, like I said, I have talked to Alderwoman Tompkins during the whole process. Changing the building, as Alderman Grip and a number of people talk of variance problems, there's no issue at all. One reason is we can make the building smaller, but we do own the property next door to us. The volleyball courts at Hawkeye Tap are ours, so if we need that spot or property or land, we will keep it C1, but we have the property. I mean, we own the space. If Alderwoman Rawson is concerned about that house being right next to it, I mean, you know, please keep in mind the owner of that house gave us the 12 feet, so it's not like they're like we bought 12 feet from somebody else and not the actual property owner themselves. They were the ones that gave it to us because they do see what we're doing in the area and how we are trying to improve the area and make it nicer. So, you know, so we do own, like I said, our property. We do own 50 feet from Pine Street right up basically to the Hawkeye Tap. and then it wraps around from the back of the building to 102 feet over, which is kind of some of their parking lot. That is our property that we own. So property and space and all that. And like I said, we can work with the city staff to make sure that we fall into, we're not trying to be the superstore or anything. We're just trying to have a store big enough to fit our property, eliminate people standing behind, and have enough storage space to put our products in that we sell on a daily basis, that we can get rid of that container outside, you know, to store the stuff that we need on a daily basis. So, you know, variance problems, space, we've eliminated that problem. And yes, if we'd be more than happy to sit down with city staff or aldermen or anybody and put something in place. Like I said, that we're investing, we're wanting to invest a large amount of money and put a building that fits. If what we has put forward is too big, we have the space. We will go smaller, but like I said, we're just trying to make the area better, and I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I think that's all that I have. So thank you for letting me speak, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, I think I jumped ahead. I think Alderman Klool still had more to say, so please, I'm sorry for interrupting. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate the conversation from council and staff and Robbie. It's helpful as we move through this first consideration. I don't have a definite position at this point, so it gives us an opportunity to talk about things. Robbie, I wonder if you could talk about, you're going to double the space of your convenience store. What is it that you plan to do with that store? You're not going to increase the square footage of liquor sales. What are you going to do with that extra space?
The extra space is actually the biggest space that we're talking about isn't actually the store itself. That's our biggest concern. Why, you know, Alderwoman Robinson said, yeah, we are increasing the space, but it's actually for different reasons of what most people increase space for. Yes, we need the storage space. Our building was built in 1971. Why? It's easy for people to say, you know, hey, put $500,000 into that frame, into a building that isn't even shaped according to what fits our business needs. Well, you can only put so much money into something that kind of, you know, it just doesn't make business sense. What we're after is that space from one pump to another pump, but the most critical space that we're hoping that we get is that from that second pump to the front of the store, all the space that opens up, the flow of traffic, the safety, the lighting, the security, you know, maximizing, like I said, our property, you know, eliminating, you know, if there's a concern, you know, we hope that this building actually addresses that. So it's not space, like I said, we'll agree to, if we have 30 or 29.6 square foot of liquor shelving, we'll put that in a new building. Every alderman come in every day, bring your tape measures, hold us to that. As you know, one thing we've been as a person that we're not trying to defy anything in town or any conditions. We've put conditions on places. We followed through with those conditions, you know. So if like I said, these conditions stay with the business, you know, whether or not you approve us or not approve us, you know, liquor sales is going to go on at that neighborhood. Hopefully it stays the exact same if you allow us to build that new building.
Could you talk about beer sales? Do you plan to increase as a retailer beer sales? Square footage?
Actually, it will increase milk sales, orange juice sales, why we might have a few more doors for, you know, beer door sales. That's not you know, like our city attorney, how do we quantify that? We're not, like I said, our main objective isn't the building to be bigger to, yes, while we want to be profitable, we're not going to all of a sudden put a TV ad that we're the largest superstore, convenience store in town. Please come from Bettendorf to buy more beer or liquor from us. That's not why we're doing this. We're trying to offer more everyday use products that anybody in the neighborhood could stop into our store and purchase. That's the but like I said, it's that outside space that people are losing track of. That's the critical part that we're wanting at our location.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, Mayor, that's all, Robbie, for you. We've got a lot of smart people on staff, and their recommendation is against approving staff's opinion that the proposed amendment would not be compatible with the comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment would not be compatible with zoning and nearby property. Proposed amendment would not be compatible with the established neighborhood character, nor would it promote the public health, safety, and welfare of the city. But the big thing is what other aldermen have talked about. The new zoning ordinance does not permit this retail alcohol sales in the C1 neighborhood commercial zoning district. Therefore, retail alcohol sales is a non-conforming use. The C2 corridor commercial zoning district lists the retail sale of alcohol beverages as a permitted use. The proposed amendment would actually alleviate a non-conforming use. So we've created a zoning ordinance, and it disturbs me that we're talking about. I know that we have to be flexible, but when we go ahead and affirm a non-conforming use by going to C2, that concerns me in terms of fidelity to what we've worked on for years to put this ordinance together. At the same time, we've heard from a lot of residents who are very concerned about the proposed development. There was a 10.9% protest rate, which is not significant. And I hear from Alderman Tompkins, and Dickman, I believe, has spoken as well, and Alderman Mattson saying that they have had a very good relationship with the store. I myself know Mr. Ortez, and he's a man of character, clearly. So I appreciate the conversation, and I'm glad that we're moving through this at a steady pace. I'm glad that we slowed down this process, and we'll be able to talk about it before we come up with a final decision. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Klool. It's Alderman Ambrose.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this group has been treated unfairly over the last few years, and that's just my opinion. I supported the zoning change, and our staff worked really hard on it. And as we move forward, I've been on the council a while, and we've always tried to be pro-business and work closely with businesses. And I think we're kind of getting away from that. Now, I want to ask our city attorney, Tom, it's still legal to sell alcohol, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it against the law to litter and do illegal dumping?
Of course.
Is it against the law? Do we have an ordinance about loitering and loud music?
Yes.
What's supposed to happen when that's impacting a neighborhood?
Well, we have various enforcement arms that should deal with that.
So, and I deal with the litter just like everybody else, and it makes me angry, but we should be talking about how we address the litter problem, because every time I see it, every time I see a car or kids go by pitching their fast food out the window, I'm a very kind and sensitive guy, but that really makes me angry. So instead of being difficult with our businesses, I think we should be attacking those that are breaking law by littering, doing illegal dumping, and loitering. So that's my take.
Thank you, Alderman Ambrose. Alderman Mattson.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm going to say a thing and then make a motion. I know Mr. Russell would like to speak, so I don't want to start. So
Hold that spot. And
if
I'll
that's
go there.
okay.
Yeah, let me go to Alderman Russell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Ortiz, can I have you back up here for a hot second? while you're walking up, again, I want to repeat that the littering issues and loitering is not pertinent to what's on the agenda. It's not the agenda item under discussion. But I did want to say, you did make me smile, Robbie, because when you were asked about increasing beer sales, you immediately jumped to an increase in OJ and milk sales, which I have honestly never heard of in building a whole new building for those two line items to increase. But you made me laugh, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Two things. One, you said the owner of the house behind gave you 12 feet.
No, that sold us the.
Okay, so you did in fact purchase it.
Yes, we purchased it from.
Because
the
you kept saying they gave it to you, and I thought, well, who in the right
Well,
mind would just give
well,
away
not
real
me,
estate?
but
Okay.
I was just pointing out that the landowner that owns it, when you were just saying that.
Well, I understand the rest of it.
Yeah.
But
that's-
you in fact purchased it, so it wasn't that he believed enough in your enterprise to give you free land. You actually purchased it from him at a fair market price.
I think if he
Correct?
didn't believe in what we're doing, how long we've been in the neighborhood, I don't think he would have sold us the 12 feet. That's my opinion.
So he sold you 12 feet of land that really truncates that part of the property. Is there an agreement to purchase the property in the future?
No.
You've not had any discussion regarding that whatsoever?
It is for sale. I mean,
Okay.
anybody can purchase.
Yeah, I
it.
know it's for sale.
Yeah, we sat down, we looked at our building, we looked at the whole area, and that's why we also purchased more property that.
Have
we
you
own.
have you thought about purchasing it? Because wouldn't it
Yeah,
be nice to
we-
have
we
that
know
extra
he bought
chunk?
it off tax sale, and what he's asking for is, we feel is a little out of line for what. It's just when it goes through tax sales, you know what he purchased it for, and we feel what he's asking for it. But in the future, if he wants to sit down again, and believe me, he's in contact with us. He knows what we're doing.
And I would agree. His asking price is high.
Oh, well. So in the future, if he would be a little bit more reasonable on the price, our intention is to purchase the property. I can say that. I
So
mean,
the property is currently vacant. It looks vacant. Is that an accurate assumption?
I would
don't
say
know.
it's vacant. I like I said, don't hold me to it, but I would say it is vacant.
So the last thing, I just want clarification. You said something about the store providing more space between the pumps and the front of the store, but isn't that a state requirement to have a certain number of feet between the gas
Setback.
pumps and the front of the convenience store?
But right now, we're right on those setbacks.
Right, but even with a new store, you are with the additional island of pumps, you still have a footage requirement between the gas pumps and the front of the store.
But no, that'll increase greatly, because if you look at right now, as we had our aldermen at large Condon and Alderwoman Tompkins can say, and as you stated earlier, you actually stood behind the store. Really, behind the store, we're really not able to utilize it all. And that's what we're trying to be able to utilize, because now you put that second island of pumps in there, you add the space that's behind the building between that set of pumps and where the customers start parking.
Right, but on your-
now we're going to greatly increase. You can pull up to the store and not be 2 feet next to somebody pumping
Right,
gas.
but you're,
or you know what I'm saying.
In your drawing, though, you're building the new store while the current store is still standing.
Yes, we
Correct.
will build the current store.
So my question relates to the footage requirement between the gas pumps in the front of the store. Mr. Warner, do you know what that is off the top of your head? But there is a requirement there. There has to be a certain distance.
And during the process, if we can't build that second pump, our main thing is to get the store up, get that done, take down the second or the existing building, and then put in the second island of pumps. Because like I said, there's state regulations that we have to, along with city code, that we have to follow. But that's the great, that's our vision for this is, to move the store back to utilize all that area in the back that isn't getting utilized at all right now. And it will greatly, as Alderman Mattson said, who visits the store quite often to get his gas, he can tell you that square footage, that amount of distance between him pumping gas and is going to be dramatic. And it's going to make the area flow better, traffic in and out better. But that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the questions.
Okay. Alderman Mattson, do you want to go now, or you want Alderman Dunn? Please, Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one question maybe staff can answer. What's the current square footage of the building, and what is he proposing to build?
Ryan Rusnat, Community Planning. Just trying to find my notes here. The assessor records, properties developed with a 2,442 square foot convenience store, 3 fueling islands. Property redeveloped with a 1 square foot under 5,000 square feet, an additional 3 fueling islands. And I did look at the site plan, and from the center line of the pump to the proposed building would be 57 feet. Just under 2,500 square feet.
Alderman Dickman.
Since we are talking about the new size potentially, just wanted to make sure everyone remembers that we did pass a new stormwater ordinance that would require new construction that surpasses 5,000 square feet to do things to retain more water on their property. So I just find it interesting that we are 1 foot shy of that. Thank you.
Alderman Condon.
Thank you, Mayor. Everyone else spoke, and now I look dumb or asleep, so I just wanted to jump in. But I appreciate the way that I think Alderman Mattson is going to take this, because there are a lot of variables on the table. And while I'm not sure where I stand right now, I think there is a version of this project that I could support. So I would be looking forward to continuing this dialogue. I will say the one thing that was mentioned briefly was the variances and potentially reducing some of the landscaping buffer requirements, and that is one of the last lines of protection that we can offer the neighborhood, and I would not be in favor of minimizing those.
Seeing no other of my colleagues who want to say other than Alderman Mattson, Alderman Mattson, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'll make an amendment motion to put some conditions on. The first being it cannot be a 24-hour operation. The second being that the liquor sales will not exceed the current level. And Tom, you can clarify how you want to word that space. So I'll make that motion.
And who was the second? Alderman Ambrose. Thank you. There is a motion and a second, and I think I'm going to do a roll call on that one. I think is that just to make sure. Roll call, please.
Rawson.
No.
Dickman.
No.
Tompkins.
Yes.
Grip.
No.
McGinnis.
No.
Kluel.
No.
Mattson.
Yes.
Dunn.
No.
Ambrose.
Yes.
And Condon.
Yes.
Sorry, Your Honor. Looks like 4 yeses and 6 nos.
Okay, so that amendment fails. So we will go on to the vote on this. Seeing no other anybody wants to talk, let me clarify that what we're voting on here, a yes vote allows the rezoning, and a no vote does not allow the rezoning. A yes vote moves this forward. A no vote stops the process at this point. Am I correct there?
Well, if there's more than 2 no votes, it stops the process.
Yes, sorry. Thank you for that added clarification. I refined my math. Thank you very much. So with that in mind, we're going to do a roll call, and we'll start, please, Brian.
Dickman.
No.
Tompkins.
Yes.
Grip.
No.
McGinnis.
No.
Kluel.
Yes.
Mattson.
Yes.
Dunn.
No.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
And Rawson.
No.
5 noes and 5 yeses, Your Honor.
So that, under the circumstances, that fails, so that will end our discussion at this point on this issue. Okay, let's move on. It does not not move to a second consideration. We're going to move to approval of all items on the consent agenda. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Alderman Grip has an item he wants to discuss.
I would like to take a portion of item number 16 off of the consent agenda and move it to discussion, packet is the liquor license for Sacred Heart, and I would like to make a motion to table that indefinitely until community development is able to work through some zoning issues that request has.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to table that indefinitely until there's time to work out any details with CPED, did we say, or who are we talking about?
The zoning, Your Honor. Yeah.
Zoning, okay. So I'm going to do, I think we need to do roll call on that. Voice vote is okay? Okay. Voice vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Thank you. So that will be then tabled indefinitely until those answers can be dealt with. Alderman Mattson, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to take off number 14 to just ask some questions to clarify for myself. I was not here during your discussion. I did watch it, but I've talked to Bruce a little bit, so if that's okay, I'd like to take that off and ask some questions.
Sure. I don't think we need to vote on that, do we, Tom? So we're going to take it on a pause at this point and turn it back over and ask your questions, please, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you. Bruce, thank you. So just helping me, more clarification. I know we talked a little bit, so probably most of this will be the same just for my public. The information that I have, just some concerns or some questions. Roofs are not part of some of the improvements they could use. Is that true?
Bruce Berger with the community planning. The way we've defined the program, and I'll back up a step, so I apologize. But
yeah, however, yeah.
Sort of answering the part of the program, part of the DREAM project is to attract new home buyers to the Central City geography area, and another part of the project is to help rehab and urban, if you will, create urban revitalization in existing neighbors, right? And so what we've done we anticipate, since there are so many neighbors who live within the area who would qualify with no income limit on the project, a competitive application round for existing homeowners. And in prioritizing that, there will be a matrix where staff will go out and evaluate properties and talk with homeowners. And as they do that, they will look at things like the roof condition and things. Roof will be included in the scoring, and so if you do need some roof work, that's going to be noted. But as I think several of your colleagues have noted and staff, sometimes roofs don't have the urban revitalization impact, and so projects will get prioritized a little bit higher if they have things like windows and siding and paint that needs to be done. But roofs will be noted, and then there'll be a little bit more flexibility given on the new homeowner side, because we want new homeowners to come to the area, and there's a little bit more dollars at play, and so
So to clarify, it's not no, it's part of an evaluation.
I think it's part of the evaluation.
Fair enough. Okay, so the matrix, because I don't know what that means, and I know we talked. So there's a matrix. Who determines what is on the matrix, what the evaluation, and how's that happening? Because I don't know what that is.
Sure, and it's a fairly complicated matrix. It has kind of a point system, and to be honest with you, we're starting with it. We're probably going to be tweaking it as we go too, but this is.
So do you have a matrix?
We do have a matrix, and that's something we can provide to you.
Okay.
The staff with community planning and economic development will be the first line of review. So they will be going out. They'll look at things like the code violations on properties, and that's inherent in the scoring process in the matrix. So.
Okay. So how are you marketing this, and how will people know? Because my experience is people who pay attention to things, like us, or maybe some of the folks that come to meetings all the time, do. But quite frankly, in my small opinion, people who might need this assistance have no idea about it. So what I know some folks here are providing information. I think that's critical. So help me with that.
You want that one? Sure.
So, as you know, we engaged TAG to help us with the branding of the program. There is a second phase to our engagement with them to do some media buys, to do some social media and digital media work, very specifically targeted towards the audiences that we'd like to engage. So we continue to have that professional consulting relationship into this next stage.
Okay.
There's a whole slew of things. Door hangers,
So you have
signs
a-
in
you have a
yards.
comprehensive plan for
Yes,
market.
we-
That's wonderful. Okay,
I would
thank
just say, if I may, Alderman.
You may.
Wilson, I've had a chance to see some of the preliminary videos, and they are really well done. So it gives an opportunity targeting to certain areas. So I'm, I think we just have a chance to see them. You'll think you'll like.
Older people, I'd be concerned with that a little bit, but okay. So thank you for your time. I'm happy to put it back.
Great. Before we do that, I just think it's only fair. Does anybody else have anything they want to add at this point? I want to make sure everybody has a chance. I think everybody's had a chance to discuss this in detail. Great. So putting it back on, do we need to just do it? So it is now back on the consent agenda. And now, is there a motion? I think we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. So let's have a roll call, please.
Tompkins. Okay, I think maybe she hung up. Okay. Grip.
Loser?
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Cluel.
Yes.
Matson.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Ambrose. Condon.
Yes.
Rawson.
Yes.
And Dickman.
Yes.
Tompkins, are you there? No, she's not. I guess that answers our question. 9 yeses.
Not there, Brian.
Huh? Okay. 9 yeses, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Are there any other? Wait a minute. Let's stop that first. There you go. Thank you. And as you're walking back, preparing your thoughts, are there any other ordinance, resolutions, or motions this evening? I got the indication there's not. Is there any public with business this evening? See none. Any other reports of city officials? I heard a motion to adjourn. I've heard a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Adjourned.